Space around Earth became a graveyard. The battle had lasted 18 hours. Wreckage from both sides drifted in slow, silent circles. Human stations burned. Alien ships cracked and bled atmosphere into the void. Neither side was willing to stop. Fleet Commander Oren stood on a bridge filled with smoke and fear. His officers worked in frantic silence, trying to repair systems that kept failing. Outside, another ship exploded. "This is impossible," his tactical officer said. "We have shields. We have superior weapons. How are they doing this?" Oren knew the answer. He had watched the humans fight for hours. He had studied their tactics, and what he saw terrified him. "They do not follow the rules," he said quietly. In 10,000 years of galactic warfare, civilizations had developed customs, unwritten laws that everyone obeyed. When your losses reached 30%, you retreated. You did not attack command ships. You did not use your own vessels as weapons. Humans knew none of these rules, and they did not care to learn. Lieutenant Doyun flew through a field of debris, hunting his next target. His squadron had started with 30 pilots. Now only 11 remained. They were tired. They were hurt. And they were absolutely furious. "Alien cruiser, bearing 270, his wingman reported. "Shields are up. We cannot penetrate them." Doyun smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Then we go through them." He turned his fighter toward the cruiser and accelerated. His wingman screamed at him to stop. But Doyun was done playing safe. At the last moment before impact, he ejected. His fighter hit the alien shield at full speed. The shield flickered. It was designed to stop weapons, not entire ships. Doyun floated in space, watching his sacrifice work. The shield dropped for half a second. In that half second, 3 human missiles found their way through. The cruiser died. Doyun activated his emergency beacon and waited for rescue. He had done this twice already today. He would do it again if he had to. On Earth, Somi watched the battle through a telescope she had built herself. She was an engineer, not a soldier. She worked for a mining company, designing drones that extracted resources from asteroids. But today she had a different idea. "If we can reach the asteroids," she said to her team, "we can turn them into weapons." Her company had 100 mining drones in orbit. They were small, cheap, and designed for one thing: breaking rocks. But rocks could break ships too. Somi spent 4 hours reprogramming the drones. She gave them new targets. She made them faster, more aggressive. And then she sent them toward the alien fleet. The first drone hit a Helix destroyer at 300 kilometers per second. The ship's shields stopped missiles and energy weapons. They were not designed to stop a chunk of rock the size of a car moving faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. The destroyer crumbled. "Mining vessels," Oren said in disbelief. "They are killing our ships with mining vessels." His tactical officer looked at the data. "Commander, we have lost 40% of our fleet. Protocol demands we retreat." "There is no retreat," Oren replied. "The Assembly will never forgive failure. We must finish this, but finish how?" Every time he destroyed a human weapon, they built something worse. Every time he killed a human ship, the survivors fought harder. It was like fighting water. You could not kill it. You could only push it around. Then the planet itself joined the battle. General Taeyun stood in a command center deep beneath the ocean. Around him, 20 submarines waited for his order. Each one carried nuclear missiles that had been built to destroy cities. Now they would destroy something else. "Surface," he commanded. "Launch everything." The submarines rose from the dark water. Their missiles flew into the sky, leaving trails of fire behind them. They climbed through the atmosphere, past the burning stations, past the drifting debris. They found the alien ships and did what nuclear weapons do best. 30 more alien vessels died in the fire. The remaining ships scattered, trying to escape the rain of destruction. Oren watched his fleet break apart and made a decision he had never made before. "Send a message to the Assembly," he said. "Tell them we need reinforcements. Tell them the humans are not what we expected. Tell them—" He paused. The next words felt like poison in his mouth. Tell them we might lose. On Judgment Prime, High Arbiter Vorath received the message and read it 17 times. He had led the assembly for 3,000 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had overseen the destruction of hundreds of species. He had never seen anything like this. They are asking for help, one of his advisors said. The Armada has never asked for help. Vorath looked at the report from the battle. The human tactics were described in detail. Ships used as bombs. Mining equipment turned into weapons. Missiles launched from the planet's surface. Pilots who ejected and kept fighting, and at the bottom, a single note from Orin: they do not fight to win. They fight to make victory cost everything. Even if we destroy Earth, they will make us bleed for every inch of space. They will make every species in the galaxy see us suffer. And some of those species might start to wonder if we can be beaten. Vorath understood the danger. The assembly ruled through fear. For 10,000 years, no species had challenged them, because challenging them meant death. But if Earth survived, even for a moment, that fear would begin to crack. Other species would watch. They would see humans fight. They would see the Armada struggle. And they would remember. Send the reinforcements, Vorath ordered. Send everything we have. This ends now. But deep in his ancient heart, Vorath felt something he had not felt in millennia. Doubt. The humans were not supposed to fight back. They were not supposed to win battles. They were not supposed to make the most powerful force in the galaxy bleed. But they were doing all of those things, and somewhere in the darkness of space, a young pilot waited for rescue and smiled at the stars. You have not seen anything yet, Do-Yun whispered. We are just getting started. The Helix Armada was broken. Of the 200 ships that had come to destroy Earth, only 63 remained. They floated in the darkness, damaged and afraid. The reinforcements Vorath had promised were still days away. And the humans showed no signs of stopping. Fleet Commander Orin sat alone in his quarters. His ship was dying around him. His crew was exhausted. And for the first time in his long life he did not know what to do. The door opened. His communications officer stood there, looking pale. Commander, we are receiving a transmission. From a human ship. Orin closed his eyes. What do they want? They want to talk. They say they are coming to Judgment Prime. For a moment, Orin thought he had heard wrong. Coming here? How? They captured one of our scout ships, Commander. They studied its navigation systems. They know where the assembly meets. Orin laughed. It was a broken sound, full of disbelief. They learned to fly our ships in 3 days. They are humans, Commander. Apparently that is what they do. The human ship was small and ugly. It was a patchwork of human technology and stolen alien parts. It should not have worked. It definitely should not have been able to travel faster than light, but it did. Commander June sat in the pilot's seat, his hands steady on controls he had learned to use only hours before. Beside him, Dr. Yuna studied the alien navigation charts, making adjustments as they flew. We are almost there, she said. The station is just ahead. June looked at her. Are you ready for this? Yuna smiled. It was tired, but real. We survived the impossible. Everything after this is easy. The ship dropped out of fold space near Judgment Prime. The station hung in the void like a jewel of glass and light. Hundreds of ships surrounded it. Representatives from all 47 species of the assembly. And now, one more ship had arrived. A ship that should not exist, carrying passengers who should be dead. High Arbiter Vorath watched the human vessel approach. He had lived for thousands of years. He had seen wonders and horrors beyond counting. But this moment was something new. They survived, he whispered. They actually survived. Around him, the representatives of the assembly gathered for an emergency session. The great hall buzzed with confusion and fear. News of the battle had spread across the galaxy. Everyone knew what had happened. Everyone wanted answers. Vorath gave the order. Let them dock. Let them speak. The humans walked into the great hall without bowing. Commander June wore his uniform, stained with blood and smoke. Dr. Yuna walked beside him, her head high. They looked like what they were, survivors of a war they should have lost. Vorith spoke first. You should not be here. You should not be alive. June stopped in the center of the hall. He looked at the 47 species arrayed around him. Some were massive, towering over him like mountains. Others were small, delicate, ancient beyond measure. All of them had voted for his world to die. You voted for our death, June said. His voice echoed through the chamber. 44 of you decided that Earth should burn. You did not ask us. You did not warn us. You simply decided that we were too dangerous to live? Vorith raised a hand. You do not understand. The Assembly exists to protect the galaxy. We have seen what young species become. We have seen the wars they start, the worlds they burn. We act to prevent suffering. By causing suffering, June replied. By destroying anyone who might one day be a threat. That is not protection. That is murder. The hall exploded with voices. Representatives shouted accusations and denials. Some demanded the humans be executed immediately. Others sat in silence, watching with curious eyes. Yuna stepped forward. She raised her hand, and slowly the noise died down. We learned something while we were fighting your fleet, she said. We captured ships. We downloaded databases. We read your history. She paused. You have done this 312 times. 312 species, destroyed before they could grow. The representative shifted uncomfortably. This was not a secret, but it was not something they discussed openly. We also learned something else, Yuna continued. The Assembly does not rule through wisdom. You rule through fear. These 47 species obey because they believe resistance is impossible. Because they think you cannot be beaten. She smiled. We proved that wrong. Vorith's eyes blazed. One battle means nothing. We have fleets beyond counting. We will send them all against you if we must. Then send them, June said. Send every ship you have. We will destroy them too. And every species in this galaxy will watch us do it. He took a step forward. You voted for our death. Now we vote for yours. The hall fell silent. Not your deaths as people, June clarified. The death of your empire. The death of your fear. The end of the Assembly as it exists today. He turned slowly, looking at each representative. Some of you abstained from the vote against Earth. You knew it was wrong, but you were afraid to speak. Well, here is your chance. Stand with us. Help us build something better. Or stand with them and watch everything you have built crumble. For a long moment, no one moved. Then slowly, 3 representatives rose. The abstainers. The ones who had refused to condemn Earth. They walked across the hall and stood behind June. Then 5 more species rose. Then 12. Then 20, Vorith watched his empire break apart. This is madness. You will destroy everything. No, Yuna said. We will rebuild. Without the fear. Without the purges. Without the lies. She looked at the representatives who had joined them. These species do not follow us because we are strong. They follow us because we showed them something they had forgotten. That it is possible to say no. The final vote was held 1 hour later. The motion was simple, peace with Earth and the immediate end of all purge operations. 31 species voted yes. 16 voted no. The motion passed, the Helix Assembly. The empire that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years shattered like glass that night. Commander June and Dr. Yuna stood on the observation deck of Judgment Prime, through the great windows. They could see Earth. It was small and far away, but it was still there. Still blue. Still alive. We did it, Yuna said softly. We actually did it. June nodded. He thought about everyone who had died. The pilots. The soldiers. The civilians who never saw the battle but felt its cost. He would carry them with him forever. This is not the end, he said. It is the beginning. The galaxy will be watching us now. waiting to see what we do with our freedom. What will we do? June smiled. It was the first real smile he had allowed himself since the battle began. We will show them what humans can build when we are not fighting to survive. Far across the galaxy, in systems that had lived under fear for thousands of years, species who had been silent for generations began to speak. They told stories of the small blue world that had faced the Armada and survived. They whispered a new word, one that had not existed in their languages before Hope and on Earth. A young pilot named Do-Yun looked up at the stars and knew that everything had changed. The verdict had targeted Earth, but the downfall began with the vote. Fleet Commander Oren had destroyed 12 worlds in his long career. He remembered each one. The screaming transmissions that faded to silence. The cities that burned like candles in the dark. The moment when an entire species realized they were alone against the stars, it was always the same. Young species had no chance against the Helix Armada. They did not have the technology. They did not have the experience. They did not have the will to fight when hope was already dead. Earth would be no different. His fleet emerged from fold space at the edge of the solar system. 200 warships, each one larger than anything humans had ever built. They carried weapons that could turn continents to glass. They had shields that could stop nuclear weapons. They had never lost. Begin the approach, Oren commanded. Standard purge formation. We will be finished within one cycle. Then something strange happened. Commander, his communications officer said, "We are receiving a transmission." From the planet? Oren's eyes narrowed. Impossible. They should not have technology capable of detecting us at this distance. The transmission is on our own frequency, Commander. They are speaking directly to us. The bridge fell silent. In 12 purges, Oren had never received a transmission from the target world. They were always blind, always unaware, always helpless. "Play it," he ordered. A woman's voice filled the bridge. She spoke in a language Oren had never heard, but the translation systems converted it instantly. "This is Dr. Yuna of Earth. We intercepted your verdict 3 days ago. We know you voted to destroy us. We know your fleet is coming. And we have a message for you." There was a pause. When the voice continued, it was harder, colder. "You voted without us. You sentenced us without trial. You decided our fate without ever knowing who we are. We reject your verdict. Turn back now or face the consequences." The transmission ended. Oren stared at the empty space where the voice had been. Around him, his officers exchanged confused looks. Then someone laughed. Soon the whole bridge was laughing. "They reject our verdict," one officer said. "A species that learned to fly yesterday thinks they can threaten the Armada." Oren did not laugh. Something about that voice bothered him. It was not afraid. It should have been afraid. "Continue the approach," he said. "But raise shields as soon as we enter the inner system." On the orbital station Aegis 7, Commander June watched the alien fleet appear on his screens. 200 ships. Each one a monster of metal and death. He had known this moment was coming. He had prepared for it. But seeing the enemy with his own eyes made it real in a way nothing else could. "Ensign Hana," he said calmly, "broadcast our response on all frequencies. Let the whole galaxy hear." Hana nodded and opened the channels. June took a deep breath. "Alien fleet, this is Commander June of Earth Defense. You have entered human space. You have threatened our world. And you have made a terrible mistake." He pressed a button on his console. "We are not helpless." Across Earth's orbit, hidden platforms came to life. Satellites that had been sleeping for years powered up. Weapons that had never been fired locked onto targets. And in the silence of space, humanity showed its teeth. The first volley was beautiful. Kinetic rounds the size of cars crossed the distance in seconds. They moved too fast to dodge, too fast to see. They hit the alien ships before the shields could rise. 12 warships died in that first moment. They simply stopped existing. Torn apart by weapons designed to kill mountains, Oren watched his ships explode and felt something he had not felt in centuries, Fear. Shields up. All ships, shields up now? The surviving ships raised their defenses. The second wave of human weapons struck shields instead of hulls. The aliens survived, but 12 ships were gone. In the first minute of battle, humans had killed more of the Armada than any species in history. Return fire? Oren shouted. Destroy their orbital platforms. The Helix Armada had weapons beyond human imagination. Energy beams that could cut through steel like water. Missiles that burned hotter than suns. They unleashed everything at the primitive stations orbiting Earth. Aegis 7 shook as the first shots hit. Systems failed. Fires erupted in lower decks. June held onto his console and watched his people die, but they did not run. All fighters, launch, June commanded. Show them what humans can do. Lieutenant Do-Yun was the first one out. His fighter screamed into the void, followed by hundreds more. They were small. They were fragile. Against the alien warships, they should have been nothing, but Do-Yun was not interested in fighting fair. He flew straight at the nearest alien ship. His weapons were useless against their shields. But he was not aiming for their shields. At the last second, he activated Dr. Minji's device. The experimental weapon fired a pulse of energy that disrupted fold space engines. It should not have worked. It had never been tested. But when it hit the alien ship, something wonderful happened. The ship's shields flickered and died. Their shields are down. Do-Yun screamed into his radio. All ships target that vessel. 100 human missiles found their mark. The alien warship, one of the largest in the fleet, broke apart in a bloom of fire. Oren watched another ship die and realized the truth. This was not a purge. This was a war. And humanity was not going to lose quietly. On Judgment Prime, billions of light years away, High Arbiter Vorath received a message from the fleet. He read it once, then read it again. They are fighting back? He whispered. That is impossible. But the reports kept coming. Ships destroyed. Weapons failing. Casualties mounting. A species that should have been helpless was tearing the Armada apart. Vorath looked at the stars and felt the first crack appear in his ancient certainty. What had they awakened? The leaders of Earth gathered in a bunker deep beneath Sol. They came in secret, through tunnels that officially did not exist. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists sat together in a room built to survive nuclear war. Now they faced something far worse. General Taeyun stood at the front of the room. He was 60 years old with gray hair and a calm voice that never changed, no matter how bad the situation became. He had led soldiers through impossible battles. He had made decisions that cost lives and saved more. But today, he felt the weight of every soul on Earth pressing down on his shoulders. The signal is real, he said. Dr. Yuna has confirmed it. An alien fleet is coming to destroy our planet. We have less than 72 hours. The room exploded with voices. Some leaders demanded proof. Others accused Taeyun of lying. A few sat in stunned silence, unable to process what they had heard. Taeyun let them talk. He understood their fear. He felt it too. When the noise finally died down, he continued. We have two choices. We can spend our final hours arguing, or we can fight. I intend to fight. I am asking you to join me. Fight with what? The American president asked. Our weapons are designed for Earth. We cannot fight a fleet in space. That is not entirely true, Taeyun replied. He pressed a button, and the wall behind him lit up with images. For 20 years, we have been building something. Project Aegis, a network of orbital platforms, kinetic weapons, and nuclear-armed satellites. We built it in secret because we feared each other. Now we will use it against a common enemy. The room fell silent again. This time, the silence was filled with Hope. In a laboratory 3 floors below. Dr. Minji was working on something that might save everyone. She was young for a scientist of her rank. Only 34 years old? But her mind worked faster than people twice her age. She had spent 10 years studying theoretical physics, searching for ways to travel between stars. Now she was using that knowledge to find weaknesses in the enemy. The signal's carrier wave is strange, she said to her assistant. It pulses in a pattern I have never seen before. She had been studying the data for 6 hours. Her eyes burned from staring at screens. But she could not stop. Somewhere in this signal was an answer, then she saw it. They use fold space travel, she whispered. They bend space to move faster than light. But when they exit fold space, there is a moment when their systems reset. A fraction of a second when they are vulnerable. She grabbed her phone and called General Taiyun directly. General, I know how to hurt them. When they arrive, there will be a window. A tiny window. If we strike at that exact moment, before their shields come online, we can damage them. How tiny is this window? Taiyun asked. 0.3 seconds. There was silence on the line. Then Taiyun spoke again. Then we will need to be very fast. Lieutenant Do Yun was the youngest pilot in the Korean Space Defense Force. He was only 26, but he flew like he had been born in the sky. Commander Jun had trained him personally, and Jun did not train fools. When the call came, Do Yun was running simulations in his fighter. He did not know about the aliens yet. He did not know the world was about to end. All he knew was that Commander Jun sounded different on the radio. Serious in a way Do Yun had never heard before. Come to the briefing room, Jun said. Bring the other pilots. All of them. An hour later, Do Yun sat with 30 other pilots in a room that smelled of fear and coffee. Commander Jun stood before them and told them everything. The alien signal. The fleet coming to destroy Earth, the 72 hours they had left. Some pilots cried. Others cursed. Do Yun did neither. He simply listened, his mind already calculating angles and speeds. When Jun finished, Do Yun raised his hand. Sir, what is the plan? Jun smiled. It was a small smile, tired but real. We do not wait for them to kill us. The moment they arrive, we attack. We hit them hard, fast, and without mercy. We make them regret ever looking at our world. That sounds like a suicide mission, another pilot said. It might be, Jun admitted, but I would rather die fighting than die begging. Who is with me? Every hand in the room went up. That night, Do Yun worked alone in the hangar. He had an idea. A crazy idea that might get him killed or might change everything. Dr. Minji had shared her research with the military. She had designed a weapon based on what she learned about fold space travel. A device that could disrupt the enemy's systems during that vulnerable window. But the device was untested. Too dangerous for normal missions. Do Yun installed it in his fighter anyway. If this works, he whispered to himself, we have a chance. If it does not work, I will be dead before I know it. He finished the installation as the sun rose over Earth. Somewhere out in the darkness, an alien fleet was coming closer. In bunkers and military bases around the world, soldiers prepared for a battle no human had ever fought before, and in that quiet hangar, a young pilot looked up at the stars and made a silent promise. You think we are weak because we are young, he said. You think we will be easy to kill? You are wrong. We are human. We do not know how to give up. 58 hours remained. The great hall floated in the darkness between stars. It was older than most civilizations. 47 species had built it together, and for 10,000 years, they had gathered here to decide the fate of younger worlds. They called themselves the Helix Assembly. They called this place Judgment Prime. Today, they would vote on a small blue planet called Earth. High Arbiter Vorath stood at the center of the chamber. He was ancient, even by the standards of his long-lived species. His skin was gray like stone, and his eyes glowed with a pale light. He had overseen more than 300 judgments. Not once had the verdict surprised him. The species calls itself human, Vorath said. His voice echoed through the hall. They have existed for only 200,000 years. They developed space travel less than 1 century ago. And yet, they advance faster than any species in recorded history. The representatives of 47 worlds listened in silence. Some had bodies of light, others breathed gases that would kill most living things. A few existed only as patterns of energy, ancient minds that had long ago abandoned flesh. "Show them," Vorath commanded, the center of the hall filled with images. Human history played out in moments, wars, weapons, fire spreading across cities, mushroom clouds rising over islands, ships breaking through atmosphere, satellites filling the sky around their world. "They fight constantly," Vorath continued. "They fight each other over land, over ideas, over resources they do not need. They split the atom before they learn to feed their hungry. They reached their moon while still pointing weapons at their own kind." The images changed. Now they showed human faces. Scientists working through the night. Soldiers charging into fire to save strangers. Doctors fighting diseases that killed millions. Artists creating beauty from pain. Vorath waved his hand and the images disappeared. They are chaos given form. They are unpredictable, violent, and they grow stronger every year. The question before us is simple. Do we wait until they become a threat? Or do we end the danger now while they are still young? A representative from the Morath Collective spoke. Its voice came from a floating sphere of liquid metal. "They have not attacked anyone. They do not know we exist." "They will," Vorath replied. "Every projection shows the same result. Within 200 years, they will develop faster than light travel. Within 300, they will have weapons that can crack planets. And they will use them. Their history proves this. You cannot punish a species for crimes they have not committed." Another representative argued. Vorath's eyes grew brighter. "We do not punish. We prevent. This is our purpose. This is why the Assembly exists. We have done this 312 times. Every dangerous species we allowed to grow eventually proved us right. Every one we stopped saved billions of lives." The debate continued for hours. Some argued for mercy. Most argued for safety. In the end, the result was what Vorath expected. 44 civilizations voted for Earth's destruction. 3 abstained. None voted to spare humanity. "The verdict is passed," Vorath announced. "The Helix Armada will depart within one cycle. The humans will never know they were judged. They will never know why their world ended. It is cleaner this way." The representatives returned to their distant worlds. The great hall fell silent. Vorath looked at the image of Earth one last time before it faded. Such a small world. Such a brief existence. In 1,000 years, no one would remember they had ever lived, far away. On that small blue world, a woman sat alone in a dark room filled with screens. Dr. Yuna had not slept in 30 hours. She was a xenolinguist, trained to study languages that did not exist yet. For 15 years, she had worked at the Deep Space Listening Post, searching for signals from other worlds. Most of her colleagues had given up long ago. But Yuna kept listening. Tonight, she found something. The signal was faint, hidden in the background noise of the universe. It should have been impossible to detect. But Yuna had spent her whole life learning to hear what others could not. She ran the signal through her translation program. Most of it was garbage, fragments of meaning that her computer could not understand. But 2 words came through clearly. Earth, elimination. Yuna's hands trembled as she reached for her phone. She had one contact for emergencies like this. A man she had trained with years ago, before their paths had separated. A man who now commanded Earth's only orbital defense station. The phone rang twice before he answered. "June," she said. "I found something. You need to hear this." Commander June was a serious man with a serious face. He had served in the Korean Space Defense Force for 20 years. He had seen conflicts on 3 continents. He had trained for threats most people could not imagine. But nothing had prepared him for what Yuna showed him. He listened to the signal 17 times. Each time the same words repeated. Earth, elimination. "How long do we have?" he asked. Yuna checked her calculations. The signal came from a source approximately 4 light days away. "Based on the energy patterns, I believe they are using some form of faster-than-light travel. If they left immediately after sending this signal..." "How long, Yuna?" She closed her eyes. 72 hours, maybe less. June stood slowly. Through the window of his station, he could see Earth below. Blue oceans, white clouds, billions of people living their lives, unaware that somewhere in the darkness, someone had decided they should die. Then we have 72 hours to change their minds, he said. Or make them regret their decision. The countdown had begun.